I'd like to believe I can fudge a little, and go, okay, I'm just going to hold on to these certain temptation vices or desires. And, the rest of it, I'll focus on God. And that gap between what God requires, what my wholeness requires, versus what I'd like to give, it's a big gap. Welcome to The Laughing Mystics, an unorthodox journey through the liturgical year, with Laura Lewis Barr and Marcy Maderi. Hi, Marcy. Hi, everyone.
Hello, Laura, and happy Friday.
Friday. Okay. We're outing ourselves.
We're recording this on a Friday.
Yeah.
So.
And we are looking at the 23rd Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a question for Marcy.
But before the question, I do want to have a couple shout outs for regular listeners. I'd like to say hello to Brother Patrick, who is a newer listener and really appreciates the chemistry between Laura and I. I appreciate the chemistry too. Oh. And then also a shout out to Joe, who says he learns a lot from listening to us. I said, be careful. It might not always be true. Two newer listeners want to just say hello to and acknowledge. And
thank you, guys.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'll say hi to Chuck and Alice, and really appreciate their comments and their listening.
Yes, definitely.
Yay. All right. So I have a little anecdote before we get this first question. When I make a film, I'm usually the writer. And as a playwright or screenwriter, I don't worry about anybody else. When I pass it to the director, the designer, the prop person, who are all me, when I pass it to those people, the script is their problem. Like I don't think ahead, go, is this possible? I hand it to the director and go, good luck. And the director's like, how am I going to do this? These are all me. So likewise, when I'm setting myself the task to think of a juicy question before each episode, but I never think of the answer beforehand. Never. So, I don't even know if I can answer my own question, like the director doesn't know if he can do the script. Here is the question, and this is for Marcy and everyone listening. What is a challenging temptation that you generally face, you're currently facing, you struggled in the past with? And at the end, we'll make sure to tie this in case you haven't made the tie-in yourself through the episode. What's a challenging temptation for you, Mars? And when you're done, I will think about my own answer because I haven't thought about it.
Wow. The first thing that comes to mind is sugar. That is a challenging temptation. I like a good donut. A brownie. Brownie is like my favorite food I eat when I'm emotionally stressed. So I don't ever have brownies in my house because I eat them.
Yeah, I get it.
So that is a challenging temptation, especially when I'm tired and I'm stressed and I want that sweet carb.
Yeah, that reminds me, Marcy is a great bread baker, but bread is maybe one of my bingey foods, and it just kind of goes, hello, I'm still here. I'm going to talk to you till you eat me all up. So, yeah, that was an easy answer, but let me just pause a minute and see if there's another temptation that I think Rick and I can get a little tempted to binge watch a show we love, and, it's time to go to bed. that temptation. Just one more episode. But let's see if through this episode we might think of another one, and we'll definitely call out why I asked this question.
All right. A reading from the Book of Wisdom. Who can know God's counsel, or who can conceive of what the Lord intends? For the deliberations of mortals are timid, and unsure are our plans. For the corruptible body burdens the soul, and the earthen shelter weighs down the mind that has many concerns. And scarce do we guess the things on earth, and what is within our grasp we find with difficulty. But when things are in heaven, who can search them out? Or who ever knew your counsel, except you had given wisdom and sent your Holy Spirit from on high? And thus were the paths of those on earth made straight.
I love wisdom.
So what do you love about it, Laura?
Well, it's very mystical, and it puts me in a space that is that great Rumi quote that he says, something about right and wrong, I'll meet you. Don't worry about right and wrong, I'll meet you in a field. I'll look it up. It just feels like, mystical. And so we're talking about the otherness of God and the earthiness of us. And who can know God's counsel is like the big question, like who can know it? How do we know it? And I am a person who believes that dreams are a way, although it's really a language that we don't speak anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm reading a book by Erich Fromm called The Forgotten Language, and he's a psychologist, psychotherapist from the 50s, and he believes that we've lost the ability to be bewildered, to be puzzled is the word he uses, to live in the mystery. And that's why dream work is so frustrating for people, because you have to be willing to just sit and go, I have no idea. But the distance between what the dream presents and my ability to figure it out is the distance between me and the mind of God. I mean, a vast difference.
Right. Well, and I think it's hard in this time in history when we have so many electronic devices and we want to know the answer right away. We have access to that.
Right.
Like, who is the 8th president? I can just ask Mr. Googler, and I can get that, within seconds.
Right.
And so to live in the mystery is really hard. And to just take one more step. In my work with people doing spiritual direction, sometimes that's hard. Like, just to live with the question. Like, hooray, your question. That's amazing. And just let it sit. And just take the next step. And slowly, we turn, until we turn towards our true selves, until we turn towards God. But it's a slow process.
I love what you're saying. Yeah. And I think we Google for knowledge, but never wisdom.
Well, because that's not in our device.
No, it isn't.
No.
And because it requires life experience, I think about, who I was at 20 and what a vast, if I could go back and know what I know now, but that is hard-won wisdom.
It is. And I confess, sometimes I pray for neon. Like, God, just give me a great big neon sign this way.
Right.
With a big old neon arrow this way. And then I think God laughs. because it's the process is as important as the answer, just like with dream work. Like doing the work with the dream is where the juicy stuff is, not just the answer.
Yeah, and one of the amazing things about dream work is that if I commit to it, I'm writing down or recording my dreams every night, and I start to remember more.
Mm-hmm.
And I ask a question of God, like left or right, which way do I go? Dreams will give an answer. Now, I don't know what the dream means, so okay, maybe it means go right. And I do that, and then the dream gives another answer. And Jungian therapists use this, like they say, Jungian therapists, I don't know what the answer is for you. Let's watch your dreams. And if we really make a wrong turn, the dreams will correct.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really incredible, but it is really hard to read that language.
Mm-hmm.
But if we really go off the rails and we're sincerely trying to find, and we talked about Merton's great quote for that, then eventually, our body will even kick in if we're really going the wrong way.
Actually, I find a lot of wisdom in my body. If I stop and pay attention, is my jaw tight? Is my stomach upset? Do I suddenly feel tired and exhausted? Or am I enlivened? And feel happy and have energy. All of that is information.
Beautiful. And emotions too. And I know this is our inner GPS and it can be glitchy, but I'm starting to trust it more and more. I had an interaction yesterday with someone and I felt really off and I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't figure it out exactly. Like there was the voice that said, well, it wasn't that bad or whatever. But I know now that my instincts, my intuition are trustable.
Yes.
And that's wisdom.
Yes. That is the seed of wisdom, I think, is that intuition, which is the place where God speaks.
Yeah.
That place inside where God's voice can be heard. And so the more a person listens to their intuition, the stronger it gets.
Right. And it's composed of body, emotion, dreams. Yeah. We do have tools or even active imagination.
Yes.
Which we talk about a lot. Yeah.
Yes. Well, right. I had my own spiritual director many years ago. She said, okay, Marcy, I was trying to decide, which path to take. And she said, okay, now just talk about path A. And as you talk about it and you think about it, close your eyes. What does your body say? How do you feel? And then path B. And it was so clear. Which way I needed to go.
I love that.
Something I read about this reading in my little commentary here is that we should not become disheartened by our limitations.
Okay.
That it's okay not to know. And it's hard to know. The pursuit of surety, I'm not sure that's worth it, right? Because we can only go as far as we can. We can only see around the bend as far as we can see. And so it's okay. Don't be disheartened.
I like the way the reading says, we can scarcely figure out things on earth. You really think you're going to figure out things in heaven. But then at the same time, there's grace and the Holy Spirit that helps us.
Right, but we have to remember it's not us, it's the Holy Spirit.
Good.
Yeah. I'm not the one figuring this out. It is the grace of God.
The second reading is from Philemon. I, Paul, an old man and now also a prisoner for Christ Jesus, urge you on behalf of my child Onesimus, whose father I have become in my imprisonment. I am sending him, that is, my own heart, back to you. I should have liked to retain him for myself, so that he might serve me on your behalf in my imprisonment for the gospel, But I did not want to do anything without your consent, so that the good you do might not be forced but voluntary. Perhaps this is why he was away from you for a while, that you might have him back forever, no longer as a slave, but more than a slave, a brother, beloved especially to me, but even more so to you as a man and in the Lord. So if you regard me as a partner, welcome him as you would me.
So this is one of the 7 undisputed letters that Paul actually wrote.
Okay.
And it was a personal letter from him, obviously, to Philemon.
Yeah.
Who was a slave owner for Onesimus. And Onesimus ran away. He left. And with the law, Philemon could have him killed.
Oh, wow.
So Paul and Onesimus is a convert. Well, everyone was a convert. But now a Christian, a part of the community, and a part to make right his past, not to live in fear. Paul says, okay, it's time. You've got to do the hard thing. You need to go back. But here, take this letter on my behalf. So you might go back in a different relationship with Philemon. So it makes me, this whole thing makes me think of alchemy, what we were talking about a couple weeks ago.
Oh, the calcinatio, the burning?
The burning, right. Well, and that burning, he had to leave. He had to, form this relationship so he could go back new.
Ah, yeah.
In a new place.
Right, the separating and coming back together. Got
Yes.
Got it.
Maybe that wasn't alchemy, but yes.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah.
To come back in a new relationship. So obviously Paul really cares for Onesimus.
Well, you are burdened by having a lot of background in this, where I am free of that background, and I could just read it as this very, very, very odd letter.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wrote in my notes, the passion of Paul, what to do when you want to retain a slave for yourself. Because Paul is like, I should have liked to retain him for myself. Mm-hmm. So you have background and you're explaining it, but I'm reading it going, what? Paul wants to keep the slave so he may serve me on your behalf, which is one of the reasons I thought Paul was tempted. Like, I'm feeling very comfortable having this slave wait on me. So, but no, I should do the right thing and send him back. But, I mean, that's what the reading says.
Right. I read it as Paul kind of buttering up Philemon. Like he is so wonderful and he's so great.
Who's the he?
Onesimus.
Okay.
Onesimus is so wonderful and so great that I'd love to have him, and be with me and help me out.
Mm-hmm. Could be that he's just buttering him up, but without knowing that, I was like, oh my God, why do we have this reading where Paul says, I really want to keep this slave, and all right, I'll give him back, and then maybe what's implied here is, well, maybe you'll let him stay with me. Like, I did not want to do anything without your consent, so that the good you do.
Right, the good of being kind to Onesimus, freeing him, or even if he doesn't free him, be in a different relationship with him.
But Paul, I mean, I guess on the one hand, slave or free, it's all the same to Paul. He doesn't speak out against slavery.
No, he does not. It's about relationship with Paul, not about social structure.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, readings like this, because, they do talk about slaves and things like that the Ku Klux Klan used to say, see, the Bible says slavery is okay.
Oh, wow.
Because we can make the Bible say whatever we want. But that's really not what this is about.
I'm still astounded that of all the things they can choose for reading, that this gets put in there? Like, what are we to make of it? What I made of it as I struggled was, okay, here's what you do when you're tempted to do something wrong. you go, all right, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to fight the urge to keep this guy for myself. I mean, what would you say the meaning of this reading is, given your...
Open your heart for reconciliation.
Okay.
Open your heart to see a person for the good that they are. Like,
nice.
That's what he's telling Philemon. Open your heart. Receive him as you would receive me.
Yeah.
See him as a brother in the Lord.
I see. I mean, it is a radical thing to say he's not your slave anymore. He's your brother if you're my partner.
Mm-hmm.
But that buttering up, man, come on now, just be direct, because I'm confused. If I'm Philemon, I'm like, you want to keep my slave, Paul? Is that what are you trying not to ask directly for my slave? I mean, really, Paul, if you want a slave, just come out and say it.
Oh my goodness, you're just so funny. And what's really funny to me is that, because I know the background in this story, it would never occur to me to read it that way. But sure enough, you could. A person could.
Well, and here's the problem is people who show up for Mass don't have your background necessarily. And so I'm left with a couple choices. I'm left with, I'm just going to check out and go, oh, the Bible is just indecipherable. Or, oh gosh, I'm left to my own devices.
And the hope is that there's a good homilist,
right,
to help understand and break this open a little bit.
And too often the really troubling readings just kind of get ignored.
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed, like, both in the planning stages and in the homily, people go, let's just kind of forget about that reading and focus on. Although our next reading is really yummy, too. So let's just focus on wisdom this week.
That's right. I'm sending him, that is my own heart, back to you.
Yeah, that's a beautiful.
I like that.
That's really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
But then the next line, come on, man.
Well, I was wondering where that first question came from.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, well, it might come up again.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Great crowds were traveling with Jesus, and he turned and addressed them. If anyone comes to me without hating his father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, and even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. Whoever does not carry his own cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. Which of you, wishing to construct a tower, does not first sit down and calculate the cost to see if there is enough for its completion? Otherwise, after laying the foundation and finding himself unable to finish the work, the onlookers should laugh at him and say, "This one began to build, but he did not have the resources to finish." Or what king, marching into battle, would not first sit down and decide whether the 10,000 troops he can successfully oppose the other king, advancing upon him with 20,000 troops? But if not, whilst he is still far away, he will send a delegation to ask for peace terms. In the same way, anyone who does not renounce all of his possessions cannot be my disciple. The good news of salvation.
Wow, there is so much to unpack here. And, just the last line, anyone who does not renounce all possessions, well, then who is his disciple? Only the people that maybe are in religious life.
People in religious life still have possessions.
Right, and it's an inner thing. It's not an outer thing if I renounce. There are just some words here that, like, even the word renounce is different. It feels different than am I attached to? Am I holding tight to. Maybe they're the same. I wanted to ask about the translation for hating, the word hating his father and mother. Have you seen it translated otherwise? What I'm asking is, have you heard it read with a different word, or it's always hating?
I'm not sure if I paid attention enough.
Okay.
To that word, because it's a strong word, hating father and mother.
It's so strong.
At this time and point in history, I think of hating really as an emotion, but is it also more like renouncing?
Exactly. I have a wonderful depth psychology analogy here. In a lot of fairy tales and myths, and so we'll talk about the myth of Psyche and Eros, the soul and love, the myth of the soul and love. And Psyche has to do these difficult trials to earn back love, Eros. And one of her trials is to go to Hades. The person who's giving her advice says, you go to Hades, you come back, you do what you have to do, you're getting something, and you're not to have pity on anyone, which was kind of odd, right?
Yes, I'd say.
But the author, Erich Neumann, says that this is part of the initiation process, that I have to have a strong enough ego, and so now we're talking about ego stability is what the word he uses, so that I'm not torn from the higher calling by feelings of sentiment and pity. And that's what I hear in this reading. That, are you ready for the kingdom? Because if you're going to get torn by every relationship you have and their demands on you, then you're not gonna find the kingdom. So Erich Neumann, just to finish this part, he says it's a recurring theme, and another version of it is don't look back, like with Orpheus or Lot's wife. So I don't know how salt figures in that exactly. Yeah, this idea that there's a fierce moment where we can't, pity is important sometimes, but not at that moment.
On that question, are you strong enough to really do this? Because it's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
It's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
I think of the story of Francis of Assisi with his father. It's one of the moments of his ongoing conversion. His father was a cloth merchant, and what he would do is take cloth, this beautiful cloth, sell it, and then he would give the money to the poor. And his father was really mad about that.
Oh, okay.
He was really mad because he was, this emerging middle class and trying to make some money, and Francis was, giving all his money away. And apparently, that was a thing that houses often had, a little jail in your basement, your little personal jail.
Right.
And so he put Francis in the jail, and then his mom would feel bad and let him out. And then he'd do it again.
Yeah.
Because Francis's compassion for the poor was so strong. And so finally, Francis's father takes him, in front of the bishop of Assisi and says, "Here," he kind of throws Francis down and says, "Here, tell my son to give me back what he has taken from me." And Francis stands and he says, "I renounce, I give back everything that you've taken me, even the clothes on my back." And so then he takes off his clothes and he's buck naked, and the bishop puts his cope or cape around Francis's shoulders. And Francis says, "From this moment on, I only have one Father, and that's my Father in heaven." And he walks out of Assisi, totally changed. That's when he puts on the burlap. Then there's no going back.
It's it's perfect story.
But the courage and the pain that his dad must have felt. But yet, as you said, Francis does not stop and feel sorry for his dad. Otherwise, he wouldn't do the hard thing.
Exactly. Yeah, this is such a hard reading. Now, I want to talk about these two examples that Jesus gives, which I love them. They're so vivid. This idea of plan the battle ahead of time or plan the building construction ahead of time. And at the same time, I think they don't strike me as really analogous to what really trips me up, which is relationships. And whether it's with God or with others, I can't think ahead of what it's going to, like, I guess that's the irony, is I can't think ahead of what's going to be asked of me in a relationship. That's really unknown. But I guess Jesus is saying, he's saying, you are going to be asked for everything. So just plan on that. Like everything.
Right. And that's, like you started, like, who's an actual disciple? Am I able to do that? I don't know. To give everything? I certainly gave up my corporate job to work for the church. I never had a corporate job, but it looks lovely from a distance.
Corporate work looks lovely.
The paycheck looks lovely.
I see. Yeah.
That's.
Right. So you're saying that you have made sacrifices.
Yes, I guess I have. But I don't know if I've given everything. I know I haven't given everything.
And so we come back to temptation for me. That, I'm tempted by money. I'm tempted by connections to other people or wanting to be seen a certain way. Those are all temptations that Jesus is saying, are you willing to give them up? And if you're not, and this is what's interesting, if you're not, you shouldn't even start. That also makes me wonder, because I think starting and failing is better than not starting at all, I would think, but that's not what this reading says.
Right. Well, and I wonder about the Lucan community, who this was written really for. The story of Jesus came up for them, for their specific needs. If there was a lot of apostasy at the time, apostasy, like giving up the faith. If a lot of people got real excited about it and they're like, I don't think so. I feel too uncomfortable. So I wonder if this story, because there are so many stories of Jesus, became really important and relevant for this community for that reason.
Yeah. I also noticed that it starts with great crowds, and then Jesus totally kills the vibe. It's like he's popular, and he's like he undercuts his ability to be popular by saying, you really don't want this. You think you want it, but you don't.
Well, and a lot of those people, they wanted to be healed without doing the hard work that's required for healing and making whole.
Yeah, I love that you said it that way, that you just don't get the kingdom without this. And
no.
I think it goes back to the first reading that I'd like to believe I can fudge a little, and go, okay, I'm just going to hold on to these certain temptation vices or desires. And, the rest of it, I'll focus on God. And that gap between what God requires, what my wholeness requires, versus what I'd like to give, it's a big gap.
Right. Well, and the need to rely on the Holy Spirit for that grace, for the wisdom.
It's funny because the examples he gives are very not mystical. They're very rational, treating it as a rational decision. But it's anything but rational to hate your family, to renounce everything you have. That's not a rational.
But the two examples are so concrete, I think that people would understand them. Although, that first one, he talks about humiliation. Like, don't do this and then be humiliated. You'll be the laughing stock.
Right.
That's an interesting motivation not to do it.
Yeah, he's really critiquing people jumping in without recognizing the depth of his message.
Something I appreciate about the scriptures, it's Jesus, the actual moment when he's doing this. It's also really clearly for the Lucan community, and it's also really clearly for us.
I really love that.
So, Laura, in our worshiping community, sometimes a layperson is able to give a reflection.
Mm-hmm.
And for this gospel, I'm going to be giving the reflection. And not just to anybody. It's a special liturgy for children. So I feel really nervous about that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what I'm going to say.
It's such a tough reading, my gosh. Even his lovely examples are so tough. This idea that, hey, don't even start it.
I have known parents who've talked to their children who want to start a sport and say, okay, you can start this, but that means you're committing to the whole season. You're not going to quit halfway through because it's going to get hard. But, you're making this choice now. At the end of the season, you can make a different choice, but this is your commitment.
Right. I don't know that it translates to church for kids.
And I don't really want to tell kids, okay, if you can't do it, just don't follow Jesus.
Yeah, just don't try.
Yeah, that's not going to work either.
I think all of us, kids and adults, can relate to the idea of not wanting to give up what we want. And why should we? And the question that we can ask ourselves or children, why should we give up what we want? For me, the answer in this moment is because when I give up what I want, I become larger than I thought I was. A lot of times what I cling to makes me smaller.
What a beautiful image. I need to give up what I want sometimes because I'm not the only person on this earth, right?
Right. Right.
I'm not the only person in my house. I'm not the, I'm connected to other people and friends and family.
And animals.
And animals,
Yeah.
yes, right? Like, well, I really don't want to take the dog for a walk. I don't get to do what I want in that moment.
Right.
Because I'm not the only one.
I don't feel like recycling. I don't feel like, yeah.
Right. And that, as you said, it pulls me into my better self in that moment, that self-sacrifice.
That's quite a lesson to try to teach a kid. I think that's the summation of educating kids in general, how to become more than just the craving animal that we are born as, the squalling animal.
I'm not sure I'll use those words, but this is great. Thank you. Thank you for doing my work for me.
Oh, so fun. Wow. Well, it has been so fun to be with you all and to be chewing on the mystery, to be puzzled together, as is so important. So I hope you'll share this podcast with someone you know, because that is really the way we can help spread the joy, the laughter, the confusion with others. Thank you so much for listening.
And thank you, Laura. It's always so good to be here with you.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
All right. And take care, good listeners.
See you next week.